WrestleTalk!
So, it turns out maybe CM Punk isn't going to turn heel. Actually, it's going to be Ricky Starks instead. Or is Punk still going to turn heel regardless? And it's all just a little red herring for us all.
Bit of spice.
Plus, FTR and Bullet Club Gold had a potential match of the year, like a legit match of the year contender.
This is just like the small matter of an absolutely 5-star tag team match.
Like someone said at the start, I was like, I cannot believe you are not leading with
Yeah,
FTR
I
and Bullet
thought I
Club
was surprised.
Gold. Well, I thought we were going to, but we did it last week.
Yeah.
We did like the certified banger last week. You know, what a match. And I was like, I think we can do the same thumbnail and title 2 weeks in a row.
They did.
So maybe we'll just try something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go down this avenue and then we'll talk about the actual.
We're feeling our way through Collision being a new prospect.
Exactly, yeah, and it's funny where really. I mean, we'll dive into this in just a second. Before that, I'm Luke Owen, DAD. Hello, welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. This is the Professor, the Truth, Dan Layton. Please, if this is your first time here, press the thumbs up button and the subscribe button as well, because we are on our way to 85k, about 6,000 shy of it currently. So once we get there, we will do another 10-hour randomizer of whatever it is that's close
Something
to
themed.
it. So yeah, if we hit it by November, we will be doing 10 hours of Survivor Series
Love
matches.
that. Yeah.
You know, Survivor Series main events probably.
Yeah.
But yes, please do subscribe and help us reach that goal.
Unless, of course, that happens by the start of September, and then in which case it's like 10 hours of payback main events.
Oh, well, I think we'd probably at that point do... yeah, maybe.
We'd struggle. We'd take something out of a hat.
Yeah. Maybe we'll try and move it into October and we'll do Halloween Havoc main
lovely.
events.
Yeah, we could do Halloween costumes.
Yeah, and I think really you'd probably just do all 10-ish Halloween Havoc main
Yeah.
events, and then a few extras, then the NXT ones. But also, God, I'll try that again.
Try that, reverse it, yeah.
I've got to do another show after this. If you are watching live, please do get in. Well, we've been calling them your CMDMs. However, we got recommended on last week's show your no mega chats.
Love that.
So your no mega chats to WrestleTalk.com/support. And if you're watching this on demand, please leave a comment down below with what you thought of this episode of AEW Collision. So there was an interesting message at the start of this stream as it went live. That said, I really want to get into Collision, but geez Louise, there's nothing to get into it weekly aside from the Andrade stuff.
So, I mean, that's a really interesting point, and it's something that we've kind of talked about a couple of times before, which is that this show is the wrestling show in a big way. There's an awful lot of, there's a lot of incredibly compelling wrestling, but there hasn't been much in the way of narrative entertainment aside from Bullet Club and FTR.
I think Punk and Joe, like that was very much from episode 1, fed into 2 and 3, and then paid off in 4.
It kind of had more to do with the Owen Hart tournament, though. I think the tournament level of it meant that we could never really buy into. Joe and Punk were kind of going to be finished because there was a main event, unless they weren't gonna. So like there hasn't really been that kind of full-on narrative through line, save for Andrade and House of Black. That said, I don't know if I find that to be bothersome at the moment, because there has been enough, like the Joe and Punk stuff, like FTR and Bullet Club, which has been there the whole time, and the action has been so strong.
Yeah. And I think the finish of this week's episode, which was the men's Owen Hart's Cup tournament final between Ricky Starks and CM Punk, they had a very, very good match. I've seen some people a bit down on Ricky, being the
winner.
Well, no, being that AEW hand him a lot of opportunities. Like he has always been like, he had the MJF thing, he had the Jay White thing. A lot of people was like, he is given a lot, but he doesn't always perform at a great level.
Right.
And there was someone who even made the point I saw over the weekend that he has had matches with CM Punk and he has had matches with Jay White. He's had like matches with top level AEW talent, MJF for example. But actually his best match he's had in AEW was this random one he had with Jay Lethal for the FDW Championship sort of on Rampage a number of years ago. Because that was an awesome match because it had that sweet AF Jay Cutter into the Rochambeau reversal. But I thought that Ricky really showed up here tonight. I don't think I fully agree with this assertion that Ricky's handed opportunities and doesn't quite live up to them. Because I think he's great on TV. He's an incredibly charismatic fellow. He's got star presence all about him. And I thought he was really, really great in this match.
I agree. I don't know. I mean, there's been a couple of fumbles here and there. Last week there was a bowling shoe ugly tornado DDT where I was like, but that happens like moments now and again. It's like whatever. But it's you can't blame them for building new stars, kind of thing. And
No.
I think it's a question of taking the opportunity and running and doing something with the character, doing something with the opportunity. And I think that being in this position is a reward for having done it personally. So yeah, I'm not inclined to be on the no hype train.
But I mean, to dive straight into the finish of this, we can cover some of the matches.
Well, this is what is in relation to the comment where I've said for a couple of weeks now, wait until the Owen Hart tournament is over, because then we can start having a development of some stuff. And we certainly got a controversial finish.
I think so. Like this could be the start of something new in terms of for AEW Collision, because this crowd were, I would say, split on Punk.
Oh, it was so interesting.
Because when he first came out, it was boos, and I think the boos were more noticeable than the cheers. However, during the match, it was split between CM Punk and Ricky Stark. And there were CM Punk chants, there were CM Punk sucks chants, but also CM Punk chants and Ricky Stark chants. But it was like a let's go Ricky CM Punk. It was not CM Punk Punk sucks. Yeah. There was no like negativity towards Punk. This was not let's go Cena sucks.
Yeah.
This was let's go Ricky CM Punk.
Right.
This was a crowd that was split pretty much right down the middle of which one of these two we want to see get the win here. Do we want to see the Collision Golden Boy Punk, or do we want to see Ricky Stark get the upset here? So I thought that was very, very interesting. And obviously Punk like laps all of this up. Like he loves like the crowd boos that he gets.
I found it all so fascinating this time, because I thought the way that Punk was selling it this time was vastly different to Forbidden Door. So I actually felt the opposite, which was that I thought the crowd were relatively on side when it came out. They felt like a good vibe. And then I started noticing there was a "We Want the Elite" sign right on the hard camera.
Yeah.
And then the crowd were like vocally anti-Punk was more noticeable for me.
Yeah.
And the way he was selling it at Forbidden Door, he was giving it a lot of like, I'm going to go down the baddie guy. I don't know which tunnel am I going to go down. Oh, it was a lot of fun. He seemed to be really enjoying the panto element of it all. His reactions here were far more like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, he was a bit more like torn, and a bit more like, at certain points he was like looking like, do you hate me? And it's so interesting because his opening promo in that first episode of Collision was feel how you want to feel about me. And in this, I felt like he was not sure of himself as a result. And I found that incredibly compelling. I thought his performance, the way he was responding to it, was really interesting. Yeah,
it could be a case of he knew what the finish of this match was going to be, which was, this is very much heel Ricky. We kind of got at the end here because they had this sort of roll-up sequence. Punk goes for this top rope Hurricane Rana. Ricky reverses that into a pin. Punk reverses that into a pin of his own, a roll-up pin. Ricky reverses him a third time, gets him in the roll-up pin, grabs a hold of the ropes to get the 3 count. Punk is shocked. The crowd are a little bit shocked because I don't think anyone really thought that Ricky was going to win this. I thought everyone thought this was Punk's to win, more or less. He was like the biggest star in the whole tournament. But Ricky wins, and Ricky celebrates, and he celebrates like he just won the biggest match of his career, which arguably this could be. Yeah. And then right at the end, like, this wasn't shown on Collision itself. This was on Battle of the Belts that happens, directly afterwards. It was like a 3-hour block where you had the Battle of the Belts thing after that. And Jushin Thunder Liger was there to present Ricky with the trophy, and Ricky just snatches it out of his hands.
I haven't seen that.
It's awesome because like Jushin Thunder Liger comes out, the legend that is one of Owen Hart's like great rivals in New Japan. He comes out to hand him the belt, to hand him the trophy, and he just snatches it out of his hand and just storm past him. And then like Liger sort of like, what?
Right.
What's going on?
Interesting.
And I thought that it was funny for 2 reasons. Number 1, great performance from Ricky Starks. Number 2, they flew Jushin Thunder Liger all the way out from Japan for that one spot, which wasn't even on Collision. It was on the other show. But I thought it was a genuine
So that's really interesting because I read the finale as not a turn, not a sort of heel statement. It was a heelish move. Obviously, he cheated to win the tournament. But there was something about the celebration afterwards and the way that the crowd, the commentary weren't fully like giving it that, how dare he, how could he do this, that made it feel a bit tweenery to me. A little bit like, what? I just kind of... So then to hear that he bantered off Jushin Liger is like, interesting.
I
That's
think
far more healing.
Riccaboni was interesting. Riccaboni, I thought, was superb on this show. By the way, Riccaboni was filling in for Kevin Kelly because Kevin Kelly's in New Japan doing the G1.
This commentary team were fantastic together.
And Ian Riccaboni, like the report came over the weekend, he's now been signed to a new multi-year deal with AEW because he'll be doing Ring of Honor commentary. But honestly, he was superb on the show. Absolutely. At times, reminded me of JR.
There were some really good calls I wrote down from both of them.
Like genuinely, I'm even just in the tone of his voice and stuff. His incredulous voice, but
exciting.
His reaction to Ricky winning was not like that JR of like, well, how dare he? Like, this is morally bankrupt and stuff. Nigel McGuinness was like, because Nigel was wonderful as the heel color commentator to be
show.
Like all shows. So like, it's how you get the win. It doesn't matter how you get the win. Winning is the most important thing. But Riccaboni was like, he didn't really know how to call this as a character. I mean,
which I enjoy,
which I love. I thought it was so interesting because it's not a heel turn, but this was more heelish than Ricky had been previously.
Yeah.
So it feels like this is the start of a full-blown heel turn, but could also just be he just wanted to win by hook or by crook, and he did get the win. But you're right. Like, I think it's the Jushin Thunder Liger thing at the top of the ramp really is the thing that feels like that's a proper heel dick thing to do.
Yeah. And having Punk's expression be one of like, and then the ref was quite hilarious to me throughout this match because he absolutely saw him holding the ropes, counted the 3, rang the bell, and then went, Did he do the holding the belt? Was he holding the ropes? Did you see it? And then he's going to the crowd. Did you see him holding the ropes? And earlier on in it, you know the bit where they're both like, and he's counting them both down. And like Earl Hebner used to just go 1, 2, and he is giving it this 1. I'm like, jumping up and down.
The big 2.
It's so funny. I had such fun watching him. It was so mad, but like it was Punk's reaction to it was very like in keeping with the whole. Like, and earlier on, and I don't want to go back on myself talking about him reacting weirdly to the crowd, but like he's going for crowd popping moves and doing all these Calgary references and all these references to the Hearts and stuff, and they're getting boos, and he's like, what's going on? And then he's cheated out of a win, and we all saw it, and he's just like, what's happening? So it is that element of like, are we going down the road of Starks is heel now, or are we going down the road of we're giving Punk a justification to be that kind of angry, I'm sick of this company effing me over heel? Or is it the babyface redemption arc of I had an arrogance about myself and now I'm not sure of myself? And I think the way that they both performed this moment keeps that open, and that's where I'm like, tune in next week.
That's what I was going to come on to next, is this idea of Punk. I think we just all assumed that Punk was going to go heel for various different reasons. A, Brawl Out last year, and B, the crowd reactions that he's been getting. Like, obviously the one he got in Regina was like, was good, but that felt like that was, the argument there was a more casual, probably papered crowd. And obviously he's beloved in Chicago, but everywhere else he has getting either these split reactions or it is an overwhelming negative reaction towards him. And there's even like, very CM Punk style things of, he has cut his hair the exact same way that he turned when he turned heel on The Rock in 2012 or whatever it was for Raw 1000.
He loves that shit.
He loves.
Sorry,
Daniel.
Sorry.
I did a cameo yesterday for someone booked me on Cameo, by the way. Someone booked me on Cameo and said like, I watch, I've been watching your podcast now since you started doing it in 2017.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I'm really looking forward to the when my daughter is old enough to appreciate the podcast as well. But we will have to monitor the language that you use. And I said in the Cameo, I was like, well, we're a very family-friendly show. Like, we don't tend to drop swears on there because we're, very cognizant of families tend to watch this, but also YouTube monetization.
Yeah. They don't really like it.
They do not like it much.
Yeah, but it's just such fun.
And it is fun. But I did say I will often drop a swear if I think it's fucking funny.
If you've got to earn, well, there you go. You've got to earn one.
Sorry, that's extra work there for editor Vinny as well. That was my third reason to not do it.
Vinny's had an easy ride for a little while.
He's had it so easy. But anyway, so we kind of all were going down this assumption that we think that PM Sunk is going to turn heel. But here he was Calgary fave, or trying to do the Calgary fave thing.
Really playing up to it.
He's got the heart colors on him.
The gear was great, man.
He did the Bret Hart like elbow drop from the forearm drop that he does from the second rope. Probably playing up to the crowd that I'm gonna do this. The hugging of David Benoit in the front row afterwards to try and like kind of almost really like babyface himself up. And he's been doing that on TV as a consistent basis. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about whether or not you can use Ricky cheating as a justification for that heel turn, for whatever the eventual thing is going to be. Like, are we going to do Punk MJF 4 at All Out?
Well, the other thing, this is why the line that I've absolutely wholesale robbed and use all the time about Punk is if you either understand why he's worth it or you don't, right? And I think that when he came back on that first Collision, his promo was every explanation for why it's worth it. Right?
Yep.
Because it was this incredible, passionate and battled promo, which was on the one hand, and on the other hand, ooh, do you know what I mean? Tell me when I'm telling lies. Kind of some places you're not telling lies, other places you are fibbing a little bit, mate.
David, like name dropping David Zaslav is like he's a popular guy at the moment.
Oh,
and you know who likes me? David Zaslav likes me.
And there's something about that line that he walks so well that I feel if you did want to go full heel with him, giving him enough of a justification to do so is going to be what lifts that character and makes it something next level. Because the best heels are the ones where we believe that they're right, or rather they believe that they're right, and actually sometimes they are. Like Chris Jericho's heel work in mid-noughties WWE was mainly because he was right. And it's a magic thing to watch CM Punk do that kind of promo where you can lean in is all I'm saying.
I use this word to describe him when we did the Collision live reactions and our first Collision review that we did. I think there is something magic about CM Punk.
I do too.
I think he is a magical wrestler. No matter what he does in his personal life, no matter what he says in his personal life, no matter how much he just I did a whole video about this during the pandemic of like when there were wrestling fans who felt like he abandoned wrestling fans because he abandoned pro wrestling and went to UFC and made an absolute fool of himself there, but still had this resentment towards wrestling and wrestling fans. But the second I hear a CM Punk promo, I'm like, oh no, he's my favorite wrestler ever. And he's just got this tangible magic quality that not many wrestlers have.
I think it would be exhausting to work with him and exhausting to like know him. But my God, what a presence!
And I don't need to know him. I don't need to be friends with him. But he's a great experience on my TV.
Some of my favorite people are exhausting. I can be exhausting. Like it's a thing where it's like
you're not. You're a breeze.
Oh, well, that's because you only see me for a couple of hours a week.
I'm trying to get you in the office more.
Yeah,
I want to test my theory.
But I feel like there's it comes from a place of passion. I think that's it, and there's an insecurity to him as a person. Like showing up at Raw to try and make amends comes from a place of insecurity.
But also he does that for
a bit of nonsense,
the banter,
a bit of banter. But this is it, and it's all part of the magic.
Yeah.
And I think that when you have that, and when you have that kind of asset, utilize it. Really lean in.
Doing that when you're in the middle of like renegotiations with AEW, who in themselves are in negotiations with Warner Brothers for this new TV show. And you're just like, I'm just going to go to Raw.
And hey, look.
And why not?
Even in all of that, Ricky Starks can learn a lot and gain a lot of experience and get better as a result. If you've not been sold on Ricky Starks, well, this is the kind of program where he can really sink or swim. What was the Edge and Grayson Waller line, which was like super cringe, but also like that's Edge, and that's why I love him. Where he like was like, it's sink or swim, and then at the end of the match he goes, you swam. But Ricky Starks,
Grayson Waller, the new Austin Theory, who himself was the new Miz. Anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in today. Please do get in your no mega chats or your CMDMs, whichever one you'd prefer to call them.
I think no mega chats, but I am not. I know we're in AEW land today, but I'm still not standing for Miz slander. I don't care.
So my latest 3-count video. Oh my god, they're basically just Russian dolls.
Yeah.
Just open up one. It's like, oh, eventually there's a little Miz at the end there. It was like he was the original average heel, and we just build them up from there.
He works very hard and he's good at his job.
At being average, and that's fine. It's a credible achievement. There's not many people in this world can work so hard to consistently be 3 stars. Some people get better. More people get worse. To stay at 3 stars, your 2.5 stars your entire career, that takes genuine skill.
I love that you downgraded him to 2.5 because 3 is a positive review, as we've said many times. I like no mega chats, by the way. I think that's incredibly funny.
Anyway, please do keep getting them in WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out all of them above the $5 US. And unlike last week, we have some, because Nathan is kicking us off to say, I know we're building to FTR versus Cole and MGF to spin off into a Punk feud, but with the limited credible tag teams, I'd have much preferred a few more weeks build of FTR and Bullet Club Gold to level up their second match, although both matches were insanely good.
I mean, we'll get into it now, but this match was leveling up the whole way through.
That's it, yeah. Because I feel like this was... Because, I agree. This felt like this is the second chapter here, but we are doing a third. This is very reminiscent of the Briscoes feud from last year and, sort of and beyond, which was just, we are going to do 3 matches. We're going to do a trilogy of matches, and they're going to be the best trilogy of tag matches you've ever seen. And they look into that. Actually, I didn't spot this on the show, but people have shared pictures on their tag belts. The name bar has Jay Briscoe.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay,
which I think is really tasty, and I think
touch.
such a lovely touch. And I feel like that's what they're looking to do here with this Bullet Club Gold feud, is to level it up, so to speak, to be on that same level of the Briscoes feud that they had.
Yeah, and it's God, it's working.
Isn't it just? Because I am really looking forward to FTR versus Cole and MJF if they can make it there through Dynamite. It's them versus Sammy and Garcia.
Yeah.
And I think that they likely will. Like, I think that Cole and MJF are the likely favorites to win. I love it, and I want it to continue, and I want to see that match because FTR on the opposite side of MJF, former Pinnacle teammates. Yeah. Their alliance with Punk, who is still, claiming to be, I've never lost the world championship.
Oh, I didn't even think of that bit. Yeah,
so I think there's some really tasty stuff to be done in there. But what I would say to you, Nathan, is that I do not think this is the end of FTR and Bullet Club Gold, particularly because the final moments was Jay spitting in their hands.
Yeah, you don't shake hands. If you shake hands, that's it. But you gotta let a spit lie.
Joel the Welsh Viking here said this was the best episode of Collision so far, in my opinion. What a tag match.
Yes, I agree. I think that the show has been finding its stride and leaning into being the wrestling show is a really smart move. And when you're delivering like this, I'm going to say thank you very kindly.
Alex, this was left over from last week's Dynamite review, said, I was at the event in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which is a fun word to say. The Ibushi announcement fell flat when he didn't appear. I'm with Ollie on this one. Bullet Club BCC should be smart enough to not stop and ogle at a screen for 30 seconds. Don Callis theme echoes the booze perfectly. I love the Don Callis brown noise theme that he currently has at the moment. But no, I agree with you, Alex, that it did feel a bit flat because he was not there.
I just don't understand why they didn't just have him come out because he is there. I get the idea of promoting it.
Well, yeah, he wasn't there.
No, I mean, don't say that he's going to be there.
I think
until the bell rings.
But then, this is the argument.
Kevin Owen at War Games,
I think that's a slightly different thing.
Sure, but
it's a slightly different, and but the argument is always you should announce ahead of time who is there because surprises don't draw as well as big names do.
I get this is true.
So, if you're looking to sell more tickets for an event, you need to tell people who is there. You can drop hints and teases all you want. It worked out really well for AEW with the First Dance and the CM Punk show. But this was a case of announce Ibushi ahead of time to sell tickets. I'm not saying that it was good.
Right.
And this was I feel this. I didn't quite get my point across on the Thursday review because everyone seemed to think that I liked it, even though I said multiple times on that show it fell flat and it's not what I would have done.
You're just understanding why they did it.
Get why they announced him ahead of time, but it was not a great way of doing it, and the crowd didn't know how to react to it because they were expecting him to be there and he wasn't.
And even in the recap we got on this episode, it was still it's Kenny being in his little chair trap going, "Look at the screen." Where I'm like, nah, that's not the vibe.
We've got a new member in Daquan G, and Philip lastly here says, hello Dan, hello Luke, how was your weekends? You two so much together. Do we have a tag team name for you? Thanks for all the laughs and smiles. Hashtag jam that jam, hashtag subscribe to Cutscene. What a great idea.
Yes, I think you should. We were PhDAD.
We were. That is our tag name.
Professor DAD. See, it's very clever.
So thank you all so much. Please do keep getting in your no mega chats to wrestletalk.com/support as we get into the rest of this episode, where one of the things I because this is the wrestling show. Yeah. Collision is the wrestling show. And I like that's just front and center at the start of this.
Yeah.
Because it's FTR cutting a promo to hype up their match with Bullet Club Gold. Bullet Club, all direct, because I tried to look at this, the reason why they're doing this is to speak to the mind of someone who is just on a Saturday night at home, does not watch wrestling,
right,
but just happens to have TNT on.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you've got these guys being like,
at the start of the hour,
we're going to be defending these tag team titles tonight because of this, that, and the other. And these other guys, we're going to win the tag team titles tonight.
It's a very clear statement of intent.
And then you have Willow and Ruby and Ricky and Punk do promos for their Owen Hart tournament final matches. So if you're like there just flicking through the channels and stuff and you see all this, you're like, wow, I'm going to get to see a tag team title match and 2 tournament final matches.
Yeah.
This feels like a big show. I should probably keep watching this. That's like the mindset to be into. But as a wrestling fan, I just like the presentation.
No, me too. And it reminds me, do you know what it reminds me of is the old school like ROH shows or like we saw them with Punk and Joe. The promos from those shows weren't very well polished. They were just sort of in the back, filmed on a little video camera. Any independent show that you've ever gone to would be doing the same thing to promote the next one and put the clips online. It gives me that energy. They're not like pristine. They're not perfectly polished. They're not like someone holding a microphone and saying cut a promo. They're just backstage. Can I get a couple of quick words? Yeah, let's do it. And I'm going to tell you what my promo is. I'm going to say my intent. I like that that's the weekly aspect of the show. That's always going to happen now.
Yeah.
I keep seeing people being like, we started with this and it was good. I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's the show now. Like, that's the opening of every episode of Collision. I think that's a really good move.
And something that Will Washington pointed out on the Twitter machine, the actual intro to Collision as well is different every week.
And because they put various people who are featured on the show.
It's focused on the people who are being featured on the show.
Which is an extra bit of work to give your staff. But like,
make me a new intro every week.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, producer Rich? I want a new intro for this show every week. He is currently making a new intro for us. So yeah, no Kevin Kelly tonight. Sad, my boy was not there.
Yeah.
But bloody hell, did Ian Riccaboni rise to this occasion?
When there is a gap, walk in and make it your own. And he absolutely did.
Like a teenage boy who's just discovered Babe Station, he rose to the occasion this one. And it was superb. He was excellent during this opening contest for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Nearly went the full Broadway.
Oh my God.
58-ish minutes this match went in the end.
Yeah.
FTR versus Bullet Club Gold, 2 out of 3 falls. And hot dang, this was great. Like the first fall was just a brilliantly well-worked tag match.
Yes.
Just like really good, simple. We are 2 amazing tag teams, and this is the great tag work that we're doing. Bullet Club Gold picked up the first win off a Jay White Blade Runner. FTR were setting up to do the Shadow Machine, but Bullet Club just outsmarted them the same way that they did on last week's episode when they got the pin on them, by throwing one of them out the ring, hitting the Blade Runner to get the win. A really good, and I thought Ian Riccaboni's reaction to that first of all, a lot of my notes are about how great Riccaboni was.
Yeah.
He sold it so well. Like he and Nigel worked together so brilliantly, and he sold the first fall so well because it's going into the ad break, and he's like, the champs are now at a disadvantage.
Right.
Like you've got to stick around to see what happens next.
It was the blind tag being spotted by Juice and then being used to their advantage. I thought was a really genius thing, and it is
because it was the finish last week. I loved it
exactly. And last week they had the champs number, and this week they have the champs number, and the champs are like, what do we do now? What do we do now? And it was a story of like counters and chain wrestling, and if it was a match in its own right, I wrote down I would have been very, very happy. And then but because it's 2 out of 3 falls, it wasn't. But then what they did with the second was even more brilliant to me.
Yeah. So we had things like, they did the DDT on the floor. They were trying to get the count out victory. Like, let's wrap this up because we need to win this match. But Dax got the hot tag, and it was so awesome in his hot tag. His fire was incredible. Yeah. Love the spot when he backdropped Jay White while holding on to Juice Robinson and then hit the brainbuster for a near fall.
Beautiful.
And there was a great moment when the first time he went to do the sharpshooter, Nigel McGuinness went, don't you dare. That was so good. But then, like, that's when I thought this can't get any, like, they were doing a really good job of building up and building up and building up. And it built to a point when FTR hit Redneck Boogie. They hit the Briscoe brothers finish.
Yeah.
And Jay kicks out. And he's so good at those 2.999 near falls. And the crowd, because the crowd recognized, like, you always tell, like, what AEW crowd you have.
Yeah.
If you do a spot where you do Redneck Boogie, like, as a reference to the tag feud that you had last year with, you know, ineffectively a different company, you know you're in front of the people who are going to, like, understand this. And the crowd went mad for this and went mad for the near fall. Then they set up to do Power and Glory, the superplex into the splash. Dax did the superplex onto Jay White. Cash went to do the splash. Jay White got his knees up for that splash. And from the other side of the ring, Juice Robinson hit a splash on Dax.
Oh my God, that was exquisite.
So good. And then Juice is yelling at Jay because Jay's the legal man. Get the pin. But he can't because he's just been superplexed. Yeah. So he struggles to get into the pin.
He just about managed to get the knees up.
Just about. And Dax kicks out. It was a superb near fall.
And specifically about the near falls in this particular section of the match, anytime FTR had the win, and they got a kick out, the crowd booed. And I was like, how invested does a crowd have to be booing a near fall like that? Because they're like, and it's not because it's trash. It's not because it's rubbish. It's because, no, you deserve that win. And you're like, and it was, again, continuing that story of like, what do we have to do to these guys? Like, can we do it?
Yeah.
And I knew the result of the match because I had it spoiled for me. I was working late on Saturday night, so I wasn't watching it until yesterday. Even knowing how the match was going to go down, was still so invested in this because I realized that if I didn't know, I would have been feeling this thing of like, you expect in a 2 out of 3 falls match that you're going to have a 1, a 2, and then a final. What if they didn't? Do you know what I mean? Like, what if they just didn't?
I know, but even though I knew the results of this match going in, it still felt like we were going towards a time limit draw.
Or even like, what if they did 2? What if Bullet Club Gold got two victories?
Yeah.
That was if I didn't know the result, I would have believed that was a very real possibility.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant work.
Eventually, FTR did hit the Shadow Machine for the win. Super action, and this crowd were white hot at this point. And they wrestled through the outbreak. We come back from it, and Dax has got Jay up into this powerbomb position, and they spill over the barricade. Yeah. And there's almost like this silent panic of, are they both hurt? And so like Cash is going on to check on Dax. Trainers are coming down. The doctors are at ringside. Commentators will be like, "Oh, we don't want it to end like this way, but like this is what happens when you do high risk moves." But they both just get back up to their feet and they both start battering each other because they're men. They're hard and they're fighting through the pain and stuff. And they just batter each other, and then Dax just suplexes them on the concrete floor. And you do the long 10 count spot for Jay White to just get back into the ring.
Which I hate the 10 count spot because more often than not, the people are lying flat on the floor and then suddenly they just hop up out of nowhere and get in the ring. And they timed this brilliantly.
Yeah.
There was that sense of like, no, we need to, but I'm exhausted, but I'll get there and I'll just roll in.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
And then they do the 4-man stare down spot and the crowd are going nuts for it. But Jay White is such a good heel. Because Jay White, at this point, they do their brawl and everyone sort of splits up and stuff. And it's him and Dax. And Jay White starts tuning up the band.
Yeah.
Doing the Shawn Michaels taunt in Calgary. In Brett's hometown. Starts doing the tuning up the band spot. And you're like, oh, what an absolute dick heel. And he stops short of doing Sweet Chin Music and locks in the sharpshooter instead. Because he's an even bigger heel. He's an even bigger dick than you thought he was going to be originally. He's so great at this. And this is where Ian Riccaboni came into his own to be like incredulous, that incredulous JR voice of how dare he. Like,
which was so great because we also had on the other side of that Nigel McGuinness being so openly, he was doing the bit where it's like, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be not biased, but he was so openly in favor of Bullet Club Gold.
Yeah.
And that really sold that. That's why this unit was working so well.
When they had the 5-minute mark left, he shouted to Jay and to Juice, even though they already was like, guys, you've got 5 minutes left.
Yeah. And by the way, when the 5 minutes call came, I was like, I didn't notice.
I didn't know we'd been going for an hour.
You know, absolutely.
I think it's the same thing actually with the Danielson MJF match from Revolution.
Yeah.
Even though there was a timer on screen the whole time, it did not feel like an hour.
Yeah.
I think, Brett and Shawn at Mania feels like an hour.
Yeah.
I think Rock and Triple H at Judgment Day 2000 feels like an hour. These two matches just did not feel like they were going an hour.
So brilliantly paced.
So brilliantly paced. We had some more, like, that Bullet Club goals stopping the hot tag to Cash. This is when Nigel's yelling to Jay, "You've got 5 minutes left. You need to crack on here. I don't want to. I'm not trying to be biased here. Like, I'm supposed to be biased, and it's not. I'm trying not to cheer for. I want to see a winner here.
Yeah.
And Bullet Club Gold have earned this win.
Yeah, and then then you get the counterpoint from brand new IR, as Nigel called him, which was like, they both have. Like, there's a winner here is earned.
And then they do the double sharpshooter spots, like a proper DIY, submission moments. Like FTR love the double submission spot, where the partners are grabbing at each other's hands to stop each other from tapping out and stuff. But Dax's body's failing him. In particular, his legs are failing him, his knees are failing, fatigue is setting in. The work that's been done in this match is starting to, take its toll on him. So he takes down his knee pad, and it's like, oh man, how hurt is he? But then he just locks in the sharpshooter again on Juice. And Ian explains, it wasn't because he was hurting. It was so he could sit in deeper on the sharpshooter, and the knee pad was blocking that. So he took it down to lock it in harder, and that's why Juice tapped out.
And then you get the incredible line from Nigel McGuinness, which is just screaming at the top of his lungs, "Oh no, it's genius, and I hate it." And I saw a tweet that was very like Culture War, Tribal War, bad faith take wrestling tweet, right? That said something like, AEW just doesn't have those iconic calls, right? First of all, it does.
It does.
Second of all, this is one of them.
Yeah.
Put it in the Hall of Fame. I loved this line. It was so, and it really sold that moment because, I was thinking, compression is helpful for a swollen joint was the line that we got. But then it's the logic of, oh, okay, so now I can go back even harder because this is the move. This is what's going to put you away because we're in Calgary. It's got special powers or whatever.
Yeah, it's got a plus 10,
but also
poutine buff.
I fully believe, by the way, that after 50 minutes of wrestling, doing a squat's exhausting.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine. Yeah,
it's not just like you're holding a squat and trying to do a bit of torque. Like that's knackering. So just brilliant. Brilliant.
Absolutely awesome. I really do think that this is going to do well in the nominations for Match of the Year when we get our nominations at the end of, in December. I think this is going to rank quite highly. Like FTR and the Briscoes did very well last year. And I think that this one, I thought last week's was going to do really well, but I think this is the one that will probably get the nominations. Unless, of course, they do a third. And maybe they do the double dog collar match to really echo the Briscoes. And that might be the one that tips over. But I think this one here, I think is going to do very, very well in Match of the Year nominations.
My question last week was, well, how are you going to top that? And this week they just did it by going
an hour.
That match. They did the kind of same thing of the near falls. But they also had a standard traditional tag team wrestling match. And then they had the last fall, which was just pure brutality and exhaustion. It was so well structured. It was so well paced, even down to when they went to commercial break. It was so well plotted, so well performed, so well logicked. It was absolutely sensational. It was so good.
Absolutely awesome. They offered a handshake, FTR did, after the match, but Juice Robinson walked away from it, and Jay White spit in their hands. But there was a moment when he was sort of walking up the ramp where it felt like, this look on his face was like, oh, maybe I should have done it. Almost like, I'm going to go back to the ring and do it. We'll shake their hands. But he is Jay White. Forever Jay White, and he went off with his Bullet Club Gold teammates. We've got a video package for Blood and Guts, which is happening this Wednesday night on Dynamite, so we'll be reviewing that on Thursday. And then we got the Women's Owen Hart Tournament Finals of Ruby Soho and Willow Nightingale. Soho, 2 years on the bounce, making it to the finals of the Owen Tournament. I thought I wrote down here, good action. It was Soho working over Willow during the break. They did a single leg crab as a nice shout out spot to Lance Storm. Yeah, so it was cute. Again, it's Canada.
Can I be a bit of a pill here? This is the Owen Hart.
I don't know what that means.
That could be a bit. Can I be? I guess nitpicky.
Okay.
This is the Owen Hart tournament. We've got a lot of references to every Canadian except for Owen Hart, and I feel like it was not. I feel like a lot of people were referencing Owen Hart, and the announcers just weren't putting it over. it was like, we're here to celebrate Owen Hart. And gosh, he was a nice guy, and that was brilliant. There's a move Bret Hart did. There's a move Lance Storm did. I'm like, I'm sorry, Owen did the Sharpshooter 2. Owen did the Piledriver 2. Like,
I take your point, and I don't think you're wrong on that one either. This was sort of a celebration of Calgary brackets general,
right?
On top of all the Owen Hart stuff as well.
Shades of Natalia doesn't quite cut it. Does
it? What were they going to do? Just do some really good
Stop
ribs?
it.
Do some really good ribs to each other, like in the middle of the ring.
That was quite funny. Yeah.
Anyway,
well, Ruby actually came out with "It's time for a change" on her jacket, which I loved. That was a really nice touch.
Enough's enough.
I felt like the match itself was like, it was a little bit unfortunately coming after a barnstorm.
It was all. I almost would have switched these. Do the tag team after that, the comeback, because it was just a squash match, so you could have done that after this to kind of like bring the crowd down somewhat, then you can bring them back up with the Soho Nightingale match. If I was structuring, that's probably how I would have
put House of Black.
Black, absolutely, I'm in that tag match. But also, what do you want them to do? Kick their leg out from under their leg, Anyway, the finish of this match. Quite fun and convoluted in a way, because Ruby Soho gets the spray can, the hairspray, and instead of spraying it in Willow's eyes, she hands it to Willow.
So when
Aubrey Edwards turns around, she's like, "Huh?
Yeah,
she's cheating." And then there's some shenanigans with that, and Soho looked to use that to distract the referee, and she hit the no future for a near fall, for a 2 count. Willow Nightingale kicking out of her finish. The crowd didn't pop for it. The crowd did not react to this.
I think it's a mixture of they must have been knackered, because they really did build and build and build during that tag team match. And then also, I honestly think this match was just fine. Like, it wasn't incredible. Certainly wasn't bad. It just was fine. I think it didn't feel huge stakes compared to that. And in fact, very little did feel huge stakes compared to the tag team match on the show. And I think it was just a victim of a tired crowd. I think so as well. Pounced by Willow and the Doctor Bomb for the win. The crowd did pop for the finish, but they weren't there for the whole journey that the match was telling. This was also the right winner. Absolutely great for Willow. I actually thought Ruby might have got the win. Would have been a good call. But I think it makes sense to give it to Willow, because you were doing the Ricky thing in the main event. So not having 2 heels win it, because they had 2 heels win it last year, but they just baby faced it up because it's the nice Owen Hart thing. I remember when they did the first Dusty Cup, and it was Balor and Joe. Who were going to be feuding for the title. And there was a lot of this whole. I remember Brian Alvarez being like, so they'll do the turn during the tournament, and that's how you set up the title feud you're going to do. And then they won the tournament, and Brian Alvarez was like, do you know what? That's absolutely the right thing to do, because it was just a nice thing. And that was just a nice moment. The 2 guys won, and Cody was there, and Dustin's there, and everyone was just nice. And we all just had a nice time. And that was the same thing last year when you had Adam Cole and you had Britt Baker. They just did the nice thing. With Ricky getting the heel win in the main event here, I think it was better to have Willow be the triumphant babyface in the tournament. She played it so well. She does play it so well. There was no big Martha Hart presentation thing this time round. I don't know why Jushin Liger wasn't here to hand Willow her cup. Instead, we got competition winner Tony Khan, who was only made. I have a thing about Tony Khan basically having the energy of a competition winner at all times anyway. He looks so excited to be next to the people who are literally his own employees. But it was made even better by him having a little Stampede hat. Little hat. And his little hat, and his little earpiece was dangling down. And he also went, "My lady." Fully. And then did that. It's like, she's celebrating, and he sort of just goes. And I was like, God, how are you so rich but so cringe? This is so fun to me. We got a video recap of Hobbs getting screwed by QT Marshall in the Owen Hart tournament. And then we got a backstage segment where QT pleaded with Hobbs to kind of forgive him and stuff. And it feels like Hobbs is on the same page as QT, ... for now. And then we got a very quick squash match of the Kings of the Black Throne beating up a bunch of lads. Can I ask you a question? Because I haven't really got my head around this. So the House of Black, but they're also the Kings of the Black Throne. Well, that's their tag name. So because the Brody King and Malachi were a tag team on the independent scene called the Kings of the Black Throne. On the indie scene. Yes. So they just carried it through. They just carried it through. So I'll allow it. Within the House of Black faction, they are the Kings of the Black Throne tag team. Fine. But if it's Brody and Matthews, then they're just with the House of Black. Just because there are I guess there are 4, including Julia Hart, but there's sort of 3 of them. And then it's Yeah, we're a team. but we're a team. And you're here too.
You're also
team.
part of the team. It's just we're a team of House of Black, but we're also the Kings of the Black Throne.
Kings.
Yeah, we're the Kings of the Black Throne.
And I was like, that's funny. But now that I understand it was an indie thing, fine.
Andrade came out for this, but Kings of the Black Throne picked up the win, and then they were holding up his masks as referees, held Andrade back.
And it certainly was a segment.
It is a storyline that has been running through from episode 1 of Collision here into week 5. It is the longest running story, I suppose, within Collision that is happening on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
So there is that. I thought this was an awesome show. This was an excellent wrestling show because the tag match was so darn great. And I really liked the main events of Starks and Punk.
Yeah.
And then you had sort of the 2 buffer matches in the middle of it. But it was 4 matches. All of them were there and they all delivered what they needed to do. Well, big thumbs up for me.
I'm sorry, if you give me an hour-long wrestling match and I don't notice, you've killed it.
Yeah.
You've just killed it.
I think you've probably just done all right.
Yeah, done a pretty well there.
I very much enjoyed this episode, and our poll is now up, so please do let us know whether you give this thumbs up, thumbs down, or thumbs in the middle of what you thought of this episode of AEW Collision. Head on over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk to get involved with our wonderful Pledgehammers on Patreon and all the great content that's going up there at the moment. Last week was WrestleTalk Behind the Scenes with myself and Pete.
Very exciting.
And this week it will be WrestleTalk After Dark. Lineup TBC, which is where we get together and talk nonsense for an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then next week it will be myself and Oliver Davis reviewing TNA Victory Road 2009. Yes, it is the show with Jenna versus Charmel. It is the -5-star night. But surely the thing we're more excited about is Tara's got a tarantula. That's her gimmick now. It's Abyss versus Dr. Stevie.
Yeah.
And a match that I thought was so much better than had any right to be, and I'm genuinely stunned at how good this was. Matt Morgan versus Christopher Daniels. Daniels had his working boots on.
Yeah.
Boy, how did he bump around to make this just walking frame look like he was a competent dude.
Is this the Jeff and Sting show?
No, that's Victory Road 11.
So it was Victory Road.
Yeah, I think it's 2011.
Right.
But yeah, it's not that one.
Not that one.
No, the main event is Kurt Angle versus Mick Foley for the TNA title. And you've also got... What's so funny about that?
Mick Foley retired 9 years prior. That's what I'm laughing at.
You also got Kevin Nash versus AJ Styles.
Oh, yeah.
Samoa Joe versus Sting. And Beer Money defending the tag titles against Booker T and Scott Steiner. The main event Mafia looking to regain all of the gold again.
Yeah.
So lots of fun stuff within the show. Plus, Team 3D defended the IWGP Tag Team Championships against British Invasion.
I completely forgot they had that.
Yeah, I mean, because Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin were the Motor City Machine Guns were the junior tag champions for a brief period of time as well. So
the Forbidden Door's been open a long time.
It's been Impact were doing it way before. In fairness, so were WCW. But anyway, if you are one of our $25 and above Patreon Pledgehammers, you get your name read out like these fine folks: Ross the Pooper Scooper Cooper,
Rue the Day, Rory O'Brien,
Kelly. Enter Sam Man. Sam Register.
He smells like beef and cheese. Santa.
The man with the scoops. Sean.
The movie Luke has never seen. Selena. J-Lo's in that.
Here's why Luke Dorman. Here's why Simon Dorman. I've never seen it.
It's got J-Lo in it.
I've heard because I made the argument that Anaconda was her breakthrough movie, and Denise Salcedo argument was like, no, it was Selena. But because
me and Denise are going to get on.
Because she had corrected me and was making a completely correct statement, I doubled down on the fact that I was right.
Yeah. Oh, I see. You man.
So I was like, no, it was Anaconda though, really. Like, when you think about it, more people have seen Anaconda than they have Selena. Oh. Who even knows who Selena is? Was the argument that I made, being
spicy.
Quite the troll I was. Anyway, I'll do that again. Here's why Simon Dormer.
Wheeling and dealing Stephen Everett.
The Pharaoh, Stephen Mazzaferro.
The Soul Survivor 1993.
The Incredible Tarzo.
And keep rolling the Rick Peach.
Thank you so much. That is your Hall of Fame class for the 17th of July 2023. Ding, ding, ding. This is your last call for your No Mega Chats. WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out all of them above the $5 before the end of this broadcast. And following this broadcast, over on partsFUNknown.
I'm going to get tissue. I'll be right back.
Are you literally going out? Oh, it's just over there. Okay. Following this broadcast, over on partsFUNknown is the finals of the Monday Night War, the finale to this season of our My GM series over on partsFUNknown. It's myself versus Pete. I've got quite an uphill battle on my hands, but don't worry. I've got the support of British wrestling legend Kendo Nagasaki, as well as D'Lo Brown, 2K, Xavier Woods, and a few other people as well. But importantly, me. Because I don't believe in myself, but maybe now that I will. I've got a plan in place.
There is literally one thing I want you to do. One thing.
What's that?
I'm not going to tell you. I want you to figure it out.
Oh.
But if you don't do it in the first episode, it's going to be an uphill struggle for Luco and DAD.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. it's the
Just
one.
do it.
It's the one thing I've got planned. But anyway, onto your no mega chats. Char said, I think how they've handled chewing muffins Punk since his return has been very good. And you can go different ways with it. I prefer a heel cantankerous man Punk. Could be a road to redemption story too, but that would suck. I want cartoon menace Punk.
I'm going to play that game for a long time.
See what Char did there?
Yeah,
Very
big time.
good. LJ Mickey said, hey guys, let's have an old school question. If FTR are a modern day rock and roll express, which team is their midnight express? Is it DIY, American Alpha, Young Bucks, Briscoes, Bullet Club Gold, or someone else? Thanks for the show. Jam that jam. Do you know what?
That's a fun question.
And what a rogues gallery.
What a lineup.
Honestly, DIY, you forget how great those American Alpha matches were as well.
We literally can't. You tell us every single time. Oh, the American Alpha. I thought you meant DIY. Yes, the American Alpha was. I mean, that was for me what reminded me how much I love tag team wrestling was that series, and it was seeing Gable and Jordan and I couldn't even remember what they were called. The Revival is fully what they were called, and it was just like, oh yeah, this stuff's great.
It's magic. And then the Young Bucks, the Briscoes, Bullet Club Gold. It's just like, man. Any time someone questions, I don't think FTR are that good.
Oh, no.
It's just like, guys, right here.
And so my argument, when I'm trying to answer this question, I look at all of those things and I'm like, oh, it's not to dismiss the work of any of these people, but the connecting tissue is FTR. Because point to me at the sort of Young Bucks and American Alpha feud, or point to me at the Bullet Club Gold, the Bullet Club Gold. I mean, they haven't had time to do it yet. They've all been different motions.
And Young Bucks Briscoes matches were ace as well.
To go to literally every different promotion all over the world and have 5-star feuds, FTR, man.
They are magic.
You know.
Just as a quick update as well, because I've just had a quick eye on the chat. Char was, of course, Charlesburg.
There you go.
That chat makes way more sense.
Yeah.
And It's Polo says, hey, my favorite WrestleTalk team, hope you're both doing well. Could you see this loss fueling CMFTR turning on Starks and Punk's turning his focus from uplifting young talent to burying them instead?
I mean, it's a nice idea that you talk the game of wanting to lift up stars, but then when the reality of what happens when these younger stars get one over on you sends you off a path. It's fun. I'm
also going to throw that question out to LJ from LJ Mickey to the live chat as well. Who do you think are the Midnight Express to their Rock and Roll Express? Is it DIY, American Alpha, Young Bucks, Briscoes, Bullet Club Gold? And you let me know.
I'm going with DIY. Yeah, but I think you can make a very solid case for the Briscoes.
I think the only reason I'm leaning more towards the Bucks is because it's not done yet.
Right. There's an element of
we are waiting for that third match.
And I suppose actually it was also kind of happening during when there was no AEW.
Exactly, yeah. Like, FTR it comes from the Young Bucks.
After Revival.
Yeah, it's a long-running thing that these two have been feuding with each other way before AEW was a thing. When Revival were still with WWE and, the Young Bucks were with Ring of Honor and New Japan. And like, so, yeah, I think it is the Bucks. Like, Bucks is where I'm heading.
Right.
That's where I'm
That's it. I mean,
leaning.
it's a good shout.
Corey says, hey, I've been a lurker for a while. This is my first Ultra Chat, but just for reference, I got into wrestling in 2020 and CM Punk is my favorite wrestler. I think Punk's alignment is fascinating as someone who goes back and forth wildly. He's not a monster, but he's no saint. One idea for a heel story for Punk is if you parallel his descent with MJF's slow high ride with Cole. If Max is genuine with his growing friendship for Cole, I'd love for Punk to do what Max did to him. Just tear away at him and what he's grown to care about.
Before we came in here, I saw a tweet from MJF that was it was retweet. So good. He was retweeting some fan art of him and Adam Cole, and he just said, "Love this."
Yeah,
and like, it's just so wonderful. Like, I love it so much. This whole thing of MJF having been the I'm better than you guy, living the gimmick forever in kayfabe, like always chatting nonsense about people, and then suddenly responding to fan art in a gracious way. It's such good character work, man.
He is a master.
He's
an
unreal.
Absolute master at this.
And that's why I'm like chomping at the bit to get this belt versus belt, but also take your time, get the things in the right place. Because could you imagine a sort of like you say, the rise of MJF in a good way and the descent of CM Punk in a bad way, as you're saying, and that's the feud. Yeah. And suddenly we get people cheering MJF, hoping he wins.
I think the term generational talent gets thrown around a little bit too much. I think MJF is a genuine generational talent.
Yeah, he's an icon. I love him.
He's just incredible. At the moment from Dynamite, I keep thinking about when Adam Cole said, "Oh, you never played multiplayer before?" And he just goes, "I need friends for that." Oh, like, so good. And our last one here for now, I believe, is from... we've got this one here from Sheldon Jackson, who said, I like the fact that TK protected Jay White in that tag match by having him get the first fall and having Juice eat the last two falls. I see Jay White getting gold soon in AEW, just not sure which title he'll get.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there aren't many of them.
International title will probably be the one.
Yeah, works for me.
Yeah, and Orange Cassidy's
run. Oh, no, actually, I have Miro doing that in my little fantasy booking head. I want him to snap Orange Cassidy in half. Just be the one that finishes him off. But I'm not going to complain if it's Jay White.
And Ryan V said, I love the content, guys. I've got tickets for this Saturday's Collision, and I can't wait to see what they've got lined up. Also, any chance of the Super News ever coming back? Well, the Super News is here all the time, because Super News was when we stopped doing 5-minute videos and started doing 10-minute videos.
Right.
That was the Super News. So it's been with you now for the last 5 years.
But that's just changed the boundaries of what could be considered Super, because now you're looking at 20-minute news videos. I don't think you guys are working hard enough.
I don't think people need to watch us do 20-minute news videos.
Well,
I just don't.
You're not up to the challenge.
I don't think people want to watch us talk about the news for 20 minutes. It's bad enough that you and I have been doing this for 56. I don't think people need to watch us do. Anyway, that is our last Ultra Chat for the day. Thank you all so much. Sorry, your last No Mega Chat for the day. Thank you all so much for your support. And thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the show. If this is your first time here, please do press that subscribe button. We have had... usually it tells me how many new subscribers it's got, but it hasn't told me here. Anyway, subscribe anyway. Do it. We're 6,000 away from hitting our target of 85,000. Give us a little thumbs up as well. Currently 210 of you have done it, and there's 1,100 of you watching. What's all that about? Sort it out, you 1,100s. Get a like sub. I believe they called it a like spike. But anyway, do that. And if you're watching this on demand, please do get in your comments down below. I'm going to end the poll with what you all thought of this episode of Collision and Hot Dog. Yeah. It was 1% thumbs down, 9% in the middle, and 88% thumbs up.
Yeah.
That is a big, positive, thumbs up episode of Collision.
Yeah, it was a 4-star for me, only let down by the two matches in the middle.
I can't give this anything less than 5 because that tag match was so gosh darn good. Yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. Head on over to partsFUNknown now, because we're going to be going live in about half an hour with the finale, the conclusion to the Monday Night War. I've been Luke Owen, DAD. That has been the Professor, the Truth, Dan Layton. Jam that jam.